It is precarious when I get slowed down a lot on this character. But here we go. All right, so you see Adrenaline's running. We got Corrupting Fever going out. Reap like crazy. You just see on the bottom right-hand side how often Reap brocking, how often Punishment is brocking. So that is the 3 different curses that are in the cast on crit setup. That would normally only have 2, but don't even need life tap because I got the mana situation figured out. Every other Rain of Arrows cast procs the other Mana Forge setup. Got a free gem slot for doing that. Something really rare. Never. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. It's New. I'm here with build number 5, the bonus build nobody expected to see when I announced there were 4 builds. So even I didn't think that I was going to come out with a 5th build, but I just kept on going. I kept on testing different combinations, different skill gems, different cast on crit this, cast on crit that, this ascendancy, that class. And here we go. We've arrived on the champion, different class, different ascendancy, and still a bow build. So it's still got my stamp of approval. A bow build, and it is a cast on crit build. It's going to play very similar to the Detonate Dead poison build, as well as the Ice Nova Frostbolts poison build that I showcased before. I really enjoyed the playstyle. I enjoyed seeing the different things I could do with that setup. A sort of Rain of Arrows, Mana Forge, Rain of Arrows, double cast on crit setup. So we got another one of those builds here with a very counterintuitive choice of ascendancy and skill gem and overall strategy. We're going to be scaling Corrupting Fever, Reap, and Exsanguinate damage, focusing on damage over time, physical damage, as well as crit and crit multi at the same time. It's not something you usually see on a Corrupting Fever build. Usually all the onus is on damage over time, with Corrupting Fever being at the forefront there. But as you can see from the damage number, we can do a little bit of damage with Reap and Exsanguinate if we go all the way with it. So this is really truly a showcase of the power of cast on crit with a low, with a very efficient proc rate on cast on crit. And you're going to see just how much damage this does in maps, and even a boss. So I'm going to do a boss encounter again because I felt like, much to my surprise, this had really good boss damage, which is super strange for a Corrupting Fever build. But anyway, this build is a little bit like Tripolar Bear's build that he pushed out earlier this league, because that was also a Corrupting Fever build that featured the bottom left side of the tree. So hallelujah to all of you guys who have been wishing for me to finally get away from the right-hand side of the tree. We did it. We finally did it. I'm not on the right-hand side of the tree for once. So this is very uncharted territory for me, but it wasn't that hard to make. It does require a little bit more focus on the jewels, though, and a further progression along in the build. So much like Tripolar Bear's build, it goes along the left-hand side. It has cluster jewels. It has a timeless jewel, a different timeless jewel, and there's a Watcher's Eye. Level 98, whereas the other builds that I have were only went up to level 96. So a snapshot in time. A lot of effort went into refining this build. It was quite difficult to get it all together. This total package here is definitely more difficult to pull off than probably any of the other 4 builds that I did. But if you do, and we'll talk about that in more details when we get into the skills and the gear and everything, if you do that, you're going to see it performs really, really nice. So let's get into it. Why did I even make this build? Well, I had the thought early on that I really wanted to make a Gall and Blunderboar build. I've never formally done that before. And again, this is just a teaser. It's not a full build guide, and there's nothing to offer in the way of leveling, by the way. I just didn't have time to do it. But yeah, I really appreciate how strong that combo is, and it's especially strong. People overlook just how good Blunderboar is as a life-based chest, because this is lesser massive shrine, gives you 50% increased life when paired with the Gall, just for the lesser one, and then it's also like 50% increased damage too. And it gives you full-blown knockback, which is interesting ramifications for a build that doesn't have hardly any evasion or must be getting hit all the time. It works really nicely in the case of the champion because it pushes enemies away, and I'm not going for the explode version of this, but still doing a lot of damage over time, so you see it works pretty well in maps, and I'm able to focus more on life than usual and get a huge amount of life. I mean, look what happens when I take this chest off. I go all the way down to 4,600 life. I just gave myself 900 life by choosing that chest, because I can still take the mastery too, where, the chest doesn't technically have a life mod, but it's giving me 50% increased life. And then I even went so far, much to my surprise, when it was all said and done, and got all 6 masteries with the 10% more life when you have 6 masteries allocated. And even cooler, only 1 of these masteries is useless for the build. Only one, and it's this one. You count on full life, while at 90% max life or above. I get no value out of that, but I get real, actual value out of every single other mastery. Hopefully I'll remember to help, explain how that is. But let's go over everything here. We'll start with the tree. Right off the bat, the Corrupting Fever build, just like Tripolar Bear's build, goes all the way around here and does all this whole thing. Usually takes a veteran soldier. I just didn't have the point allocation. Why? Well, because I went off to the right in no man's land for the champion. Nobody ever does this, I guess, with the Corrupting Fever build. It seems really strange, but I saw a whole lot of potential over here. So we're going to start on the right-hand side, and that is going to be for Leech from the attacks. And since I'm doing a rain of arrows sort of thing, I am attacking and hitting a lot. Instant Leech is going to be a big deal. Vaal Pact. I'll talk about this in a moment in more detail about why I chose that. Very strong keystone for this build. Also get to have Onslaught without needing it on a flask. Can even get, in my case, Poison immunity because I'm wearing a Gull, but saving points, so didn't in this case. So I'm going Cast on Crit. I'm going to want Blind in the build somehow, and I'm going to want Crit Chance somehow. Global Crit Chance can't just be Attack Crit. So this is a very strong wheel as well. Phasing, don't need it on a Abyss Jewel, so got that covered. Extra life, so I'm going to have to get the 6 life mastery somewhere. I mean, a lot of people usually go all the way up here, up this whole thing anyway, but I don't need to do that. And then I get Spell Suppression, and this is the most unique thing about it. A Corrupting Fever champion build with Spell Suppression is like probably unheard of, but very, very powerful. Use of 5 points here to get these here. I'm not actually using a life flask, but Chance to Suppress is lucky, is tremendous value when the number is low. I only have like 40% spell suppress chance, or no, it's actually less than that. It's like between 30 and 40. But with the lucky modifier, that gives me like an effective value of like 30 for 1 point. And so I won't be spell suppressing everything, but a lot of times in maps, this kind of character is very susceptible to spells, especially things like rapid fire nukes that are coming in from like all different sources. Think, for example, the Eater Eldritch packs that spawn with they got like the lightning spray they shoot out, and you get hit like 10 times a second by that. This setup is very, very strong against that. It's not going to be that strong against, a massive one-hit nuke that might slip through the cracks there, but it's very strong against a lot of rapid fire stuff. So really, really like the fact that I can get spell suppress on this build. I also need to take accuracy, which is very unusual, but I do have 92% accuracy. Cutting corners there. Again, accuracy doesn't matter for spells. So for, Corrupting Fever, for the Vaal landing, the Reap, and the Exsanguinate makes no difference. But I do need to land hits with arrows. So, I'm having to come from behind to make up for some of the downsides of the build. Having to scale accuracy as well as crit, as well as spell damage. So I got to scale a lot of things. But at the end of the day, it's going to work out really nice because when that cast on crit turns over at a massive proc rate, I mean, it's just doing crazy damage. So I am going off to the right, going back down here, going to get this reservation wheel. Of course, reservation's really tricky for this build, so I'm going to take all the points there. I'm going to use a pretty conventional double 8 passive cluster with Master Fundamentals, Battle Harden, and now this one is different. So I get a better third notable here because I actually care about hit base damage. So force multiplier is actually better. And we're going to do the exact same thing over here. Now, along the way, I mean, this is just an oasis of excellent nodes here with reducing the cost of skills, with the armor, with the reduced crit, with the more life, another gem, more life, getting those masteries out of the way. Very powerful node here with the crushed. And crushed actually matters for my build since I'm doing hit-based damage too, which is really cool. The extra damage, more reduction of cost of skills, getting the, in my case, not a Glorious Vanity, but Elegant Hubris for the Supreme Ostentation, which will allow me to use Blunderbore as a chest. It would normally cost way too much attribute. And still typical setup. So, getting some value where I can. Crit chance is good here. Crit multi is good. I get more value out of more different things because of this build scaling off many different things. Armor is, of course, good. And then I'm going to get power charge on crit, which is something I wouldn't normally get here. So that's a convenient way. I mean, there's many different ways to get power charge on crit, but that's one of them. As you can see here with the tattoos, I was messing around going up here. It's really nice, but I just can't do it. You just don't have a point allocation to do it. So we finish it out here, and it's kind of funny, it's almost like 1, 2, 3 points away here, but it's actually more efficient to go all the way around and do that. So that is kind of how things are laid out here. Now, you'll notice everything is tattooed. I didn't normally have that. And yeah, tattoos can be expensive, but I don't think the percent physical damage tattoos are all that expensive usually. And the reason why I have them on there is, again, this build is progressed a little further along. Just makes sense to make the snapshot in time for this. If you're going to go Elegant Hubris, if you're going to get Supreme Ostentation, then duh, you get a huge upside by getting to tattoo everything. It doesn't matter what my attributes are. They can be completely zero. I get value out of that more so than most builds. So I assume tattoos are going to be in the core game now moving forward. You know, they did this weird thing where they moved them from Tota into, you know, the next league mechanic. I don't know if they're going to move them into the next league mechanic, whatever, but I'm pretty sure, you know, tattoos were nerfed. So it seems like they've been nerfed to a sort of core expectation as a part of a core part of the game when they're not that great anymore. So I'm guessing they're going to be in here. I also get to cover bases on cold resistance, which was actually kind of a big deal. It helped me with the crafting the rares of reprieve there in having to get resistances covered. Jewels is another thing I gotta talk about before we move on. Jewels. All right, so I got a couple of rare jewels, and in my case, there are a couple different things I could do. For a while, I was running charisma, and I covered mana, I had no problem. But you can see I'm all the way down to 46 mana. In the end, I went with 2 base jewels, mandatory rolls, 3% mana reservation of skills. And you would hope to get other things on there, the life on hit or whatever. Mana on hit's not that important. But have to have mana reservation of skills for this setup. And we get into the skill gems, you'll begin to understand why that is. Also, getting Grand Spectrums, getting Element Immunity. Conveniently, if you were to get the Thick Skin, it sets you up really nice for a 2-point or 2 Grand Spectrum of Void Elemental Ailments with Thick Skin, and then 1 implicit on the boots. Eldritch Implicit will get you, I believe it was 104% chance to avoid elemental ailments, giving me unlocking the third one to be whatever I want. Global crit, very good. Although maybe I don't need it for my rain of arrows, but it's still good for the other skills, right? So it's going to matter for Reap, for example. Yeah, really high crit chance, eh? All right, so that's it for the passives. The last thing to say is Vaal Pact. Why Vaal Pact? Now, a lot of people in this setup will go for this 3 points. I don't need 2 save points here. That's a lot of life regen right there, but it's not going to be that important because I'm going to get so much recovery. You're going to see this in the map showcase. Boss showcase too. It gets so much recovery. So the top line here says total recovery per second from life leech is doubled. This line usually doesn't matter much because as long as you hit hard at all, you're going to hit that ceiling. Like this just means below the ceiling, you're more likely to reach the ceiling, so to speak. Unlike you know, the instant leech and everything. And then the second line it basically raises the ceiling, and that's the one that's more important, the maximum total life recovery. So the top line, total recovery per second, matters here because my build hits extremely weak, extremely often. So leech matters a lot with frequency of hit, but you obviously have to hit hard enough for it to matter. And look at this, 147 to 434 is a tiny number. So I actually get major value out of that when going for all the leech and the instant leech. So Rain of Arrows is truly giving me life back in ways that wouldn't normally be because of that. Now for the maximum total life recovery per second, it's not going to matter as much for Rain of Arrows, but that is going to matter a lot for Reap and Exsanguinate. So I'm going to get a ton of life back on those cast on crit Reap Exsanguinates are just constantly spinning. So getting life leech back from, you know, all kinds of different hit-based sources, just so many hits going out. Some are very tiny, so just get major improvements on leech. And again, you're going to see that in the map. It's really fantastic. So that's why I do Vaal Pact. Okay, let's move on to skill gems. Well, I guess we'll get the auras out of the way. We got Pride, Determination, War Banner, Herald of Purity. Not a huge surprise there. Most of the time you might see Malevolence on here. It's not going to help me that much. I'm not focusing that much on damage over time. But anyway, I like Herald of Purity. I was trying to run the Circle of Guilt, maybe? No, I can't remember. Circle of Strength, the physical version of that ring, but I can't fit it in anymore. So, still getting good value out of here. This is a lot of damage, as you can see. Moving on, we got Corrupting Fever, which is going to have Swift Affliction, Brutality, and not Efficacy. Life tap. Now, why does this have life tap? Well, I need to show you this. It's something that's really cool. Notice the life cost. The life cost. It's almost half of my total life pool, which means you can very conveniently press one button and proc Adrenaline through the masteries, which I actually forgot to showcase. You know, typical masteries here, tanky masteries with the first strike and then inspiration and all that. However, not quite half-life isn't good enough, except that it is if you have the mastery. You count as on low life while at 55% maximum life or below. So that one button press brings me down to around 53% life. Amazing. So I can just one press it, and that matters a lot because my life recovery is so insane with Vaal Pact, and the arrows keep hitting. I can't stop the arrows. I cannot proc adrenaline unless I'm able to do it in one click. Generally, there's too much recovery happening. Too much of a good thing, and this kind of build archetype struggles with recovery sometimes. So if I got too much of a good thing, it can create a problem with adrenaline unless I can get the cost of Corrupting Fever to be such that in one cast it works. And, you know, that's kind of important, I think, in this build. So that's why I did that. Moving on, we got Rain of Arrows. Okay, so actually let's start with this one. We got the very tricky one with a Shaper Bow again. We got two separate skill gems we're proccing in here, so not that many damage supports. We got Rain of Arrows connected to Exsanguinate, Vaal Reap with increased critical strikes but not crit damage. With Brutality and Empower. Level 3 Empower. Okay, I would like to make a level 4. It would obviously be a lot better. But, you know, trying to make it somewhat League Start friendly. There you go. So this was the best setup. I worked around with this forever and messing with it. But this ended up being the best setup, I think. Increased critical strikes really did matter, even for... Because I'm not using that Ungol's amulet on this one. So if I have... Yeah, this setup, I'm not even close to cap, really. You know, so I need that to cap. And then for Reap, you know, it's a major big deal here. And this matters even more on the other link here, where my crit chance is also quite low. Or actually, no, it doesn't matter. It's linked to one thing. Never mind. All right, and then we'll go over to the other link, which is cast on crit, Warlord's Mark, Punishment, Vulnerability. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The final setup on this build will feature 4 curses. Definitely getting into this build, if I were to make it a more fleshed out build, it would start with 2 curses, with Doedre's Ring. And then you would just anoint Charisma, and you would have your mana situation solved, you have the curse situation solved, you wouldn't need a Corrupted Implicit on the gloves, which I have, so it'd be very easy to set up. Moving forward, you would sub that ring out for Anathema, and you would still have Charisma anointed, and then you would still not have to have you would either have a Corrupted Implicit on gloves, or you would have a 3rd curse. Now, normally, Life Tap is featured here, but I don't need Life Tap. The reason I don't need Life Tap is because I have 14 mana cost reduction, 1 from a ring, 1 from an amulet, and I have a whole bunch of skill cost reduction here, where I've actually been able to drive the cost of Rain of Arrows. Okay, this is that link I'm showing you. It's 6, whereas my primary skill gem, Rain of Arrows, is 9. So if you know what Mana Forge Arrows means, it means in this case I only need to attack twice to get the Mana Forge Arrows set up. I've never been able to do that before. Normally you can't do that because you can't make the cost as such that you would only need to attack twice to do this, but it was in fact able to do it this time, and that's thanks to, you know, the very restrictive setup with the mana situation and the reservation stuff, and I had to anoint, you know, something different. So anyway, that's how that's all set up. Now we got Berserk in the build because we got Warlord's Mark, so that's great. And then we got Flame Dash automation, Molten Shell, Molten Shell automation, and Flame Dash is there on the side. Berserk's Connect automation too. So the reason I got Berserk is in there is because I have Warlord's Mark. Not doing any cold damage, so not chilling, freezing, so still hitting pretty hard with Reap. Nice bonus for not over-prioritizing damage over time. And I still got Punishment, Vulnerability. And then I have Enfeeble on the glove implicit, where that is. All right, and that's going to be it there. Yeah, you can see Enfeeble there. So next, we got the gear. Now, the gear, once again, we got a surprisingly easy to craft bow. This is not that hard to do. It is, off the top of my head, metallic, deft, corroded essences. And this is a 1 to 2% success rate to hit high tiers on all of these. And, you know, you have like a 10 to 20% chance to hit high tiers on 2 of them. And then you can just kind of YOLO Exalt and Null, or you can do Cannot Roll Attack mod, set it up that way. You might even make a better bow than this, in fact. But this is a great bow, +3 with the Empower. And physical damage over time multi is nice to have there. I was running crit multi when a unique is near me, but Ended up using these gloves instead, so I don't need to prioritize crit multi at all. Power charge on crit can be got here as well. But anyway, that is the bow, and it's easier to make than you probably think. All right, over here we got the quiver, which is not all that important. Not that many important mods on here. Really need frenzy charge. Need the accuracy somewhere. I was trying to run with Maloney's quiver for a while, but I just couldn't get something to work. I would like to get Maim on the build. Possibly just couldn't make it work. Anyway, got attack speed conveniently. Life. It's a bleach. Really, this is for the accuracy and the frenzy charge. And the life. Those are where that's at. Gull Helm, Blunderboy, Shrines, baby. Don't need to explain. You know what this is. That's just a whole lot of lovely right there. Okay, and then we got gloves, Malagar's Virtuosity, a great league start option. Really strong with a crit multi. Sets it to 300. You start with 150. So I noticed in my build before I was running these, I did have these banging good rare gloves, which were really, really good. So I hated giving them up, but explain why I did in a moment here. It mainly has to do with just being able to get, essentially 6 affixes of high tier crit multi for free, or crit chance on gloves is freaking crazy. If you're not having to scale anywhere else at League Start, it's tremendously strong. The Templar gloves are also very, very good option here. Very good option, as you can see. You could do a lot with these, but at League Start, yeah, that. So I also able to get the Enfeeble on hit for the 4th curse setup, really good, especially in T17. Got to have a chance to avoid elemental ailment, and drops Brittle Ground. Well, that is an interesting one. That is going to make a big impact on especially things like Reap. Look at that Reap crit chance. So I'm perfectly fine with being in melee range of stuff. I get around there and the boss, I'm constantly running around him, through him and everything. So this makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense to go Brittle here. As weird as that may sound, that's in there. Yep. And we got the increased damage when non-Vaal skills are up doing soul gain prevention. This is super underrated benchcraft mod here. I liked it on the gloves too. We're constantly triggering Vaal Reap. It's more like a rolling buff than it is a one-time hit. So I want Vaal Reap up at all times, whether a boss or mapping. And so this just gives me a whole bunch of extra damage. Now, the amulet. All right, so a +2 amulet's going to be best. Well, actually, a +4 amulet's going to be best with a focus amulet. But anyway, could run a unique, but it's just too good. It's just too good to do something like this. You get the damage over time multi with the +1 skill jump. This is a hard amulet to craft. I'm not going to explain how to do that. You could probably craft it pretty easy with 3 of these 4 mods, not necessarily all 4, but got to have the mana cost reduction there, and you're going to do the same thing here on the ring. In fact, this is really tight to the point where I actually need the regen mana mod. Makes a big difference there because I don't have that much mana leech. And the minus cost reductions here too. Getting a little bit of Chaos Res, nice, because I'm pretty low on that. I think it's the only Chaos Res I have on the build. And then all Res and Life is good there. Anathema for the 4 curses, and then the amulet, what I missed is allocates overcharges per +1 max. And then this can all be a lot easier if you just don't have a 4th curse, stick with 3 and anoint charisma, and then things get a lot easier with the jewels and with the mana situation, with the ring, the bench mods. All of it's a lot easier. But this would be kind of like the top end of the league start setup, I guess, once you progress it there. Now this belt. All right, why the heck am I wearing this belt? Mainly one reason: 0.6% of physical damage leached as life. There are not very many places to get global physical spell life leech. That is a really hard mod to come by. It comes on Vitality Watcher's Eye. It comes on Glorious Vanity, actually, which Tripolar Bear's build did have, as a matter of fact. It comes one other place I'm forgetting, and then right here. Oh yeah, it comes on the gloves. The gloves, which I was using. Let me show you here one more time. There you can see a 0.3% of physical damage. It doesn't matter how big the number is. It can be 0.1, be 1, doesn't matter. You just need a number there. And that makes all the difference in the world. So now Reap and Exsanguinate have an opportunity to give me a whole bunch of leech as well as everything else. And it's a huge difference. When I wasn't wearing it, when I was, I even fixed my other build with the Ice Nova Frostbolts by using the cold version of this belt. And have updated the PoE since then in that video. All right, then we got the flasks here. I just got 5 magic flasks. Kind of weird. Specialists. I'm not sure if this is the best prefix, but I'm critting a whole lot here. We got Corrupted Blood and Bleed immunity here. I'm so glad I made this build because I just realized this deserves to be meta. There's no reason to run a life flask for the almost sole purpose of getting bleed and or corrupt blood immunity. No reason whatsoever. When you have this mod on flask, it still lasts almost 6 seconds. The longer flasks. And in maps, it's not that hard to keep up. So basically, it was a major epiphany moment for me here. I'm just going to stop using life flask, even at League Start, except for the very, very, very beginning. Like before I even finish the maps or whatever, complete the Atlas. I think it's a great way. Great segue into, completing maps before you get a, corrupted Inspire Learning or something like that. It costs an arm and a leg. All right, and then we got, the Quicksilver. We got Granite because we're doing armor. Also prioritizing evasion. I'm not using Grace, but getting a little bit of evasion there. And a whole bunch of crit. A whole bunch of crit. And there's all the jewels there. You can see them one more time. All right, guys. Then we're going to move to configuration calculation. So we got all 3 of these. We got Warlord's Marks. We get endurance charges reliably. Very nice. A lot of added effective hit pool there. Frenzy charge off the Quiver. Power charge off of the Elegant Hubris. Good. Adrenaline, obviously. Am I on low life? Or the enemy on low life? Well, I got punishment, so you can see the difference there. Half the time there would be. Enemies blinded, debilitated, then brittle ground, crushed. It's typical stuff there. So this is, fairly representative of what you'd see if it's proccing there. And the reason this number down here exists is to help represent a full, 100% uptime on cast on crit proc rates, essentially. I wish there was an override button in PoE that would allow you to just it just automatically granted you 0 downtime cast on crit stuff, which obviously isn't completely realistic, but for the sake of figuring out PoE DPS and trying to estimate the top end of optimal conditions in a boss fight, it would be nice if we had the override button. So, but anyway, this is kind of a workaround to that. All right, and then we got the calculations. Okay. What can we talk about? Well, we got a Fizz Max hit. That's going to matter a lot, right? I'm not running Immortal Call. I'm not running Steel Skin, so there's actually nothing to take off here. I already removed Molten Shell and Berserk to give you a more accurate rep here. You can see Berserk isn't giving me any real damage, but obviously it's pretty nice. So I got 21k max hit, or 22k almost. Not too awful bad. You can see the avoidance here. I believe 4% over cap is really nice. Stun avoidance as well. Okay, and we got the resistances. We got everything covered. Doesn't matter what my attributes are. Bleed, damage doesn't not gonna mean anything. No magic vine. Hit chance only 92%, but that's all right. Some people are gonna care about like Exsanguinate. Yeah, you can see Exsanguinate. You can see Reap here if you want, and then Corrupting Fever. People like that. Secondary duration here. Duration is not a big deal. I spend so much life, it's just ridiculous. This could last 1 second and I would have no problem keeping that fully up. That's how active the build is on spending life and getting life back through leech. All right, guys. Let's move on to the mapping and bossing showcase. All right, here it is once again. 5 times a charm. We got the item level 84 cluster farm set up for the tier 17. That is an optimal currency earning strat at the very beginning of the league, one that I'm eagerly anticipating to do with whatever build I choose. So that's kind of the benchmark that I'm using there. I get a little bit of borrowed power from Nico, but yeah, Delirium Beyond and yeah, that whole thing. So fairly juicy map. Can be a little bit harder than usual. We got a white Minotaur map. A fairly easy T17, and then Eater of Worlds to show at the end. We'll start with Minotaur. Here's all the gear in place, as you can see, all set up. Virtually one-to-one snapshot of everything that I had there with, all these jewels and stuff. It's all here, just like it was. All right, let's see how it does. It's going to feel similar, but look a lot different than most of my other builds. One thing of note is mana. So mana is very tight on this setup with the 4 curse setup. So, you'll see the mana going up and down. You can see if I'm running out of it. No, typically don't. Actually, I forgot to get adrenaline there. Whoops. 1 cast adrenaline, it's up. 100% increased armor and evasion is hella good. A little shrine mod for me. Very nice. Okay, keeping Vaal Reap up, getting that 60% increased damage from the boot benchcraft. Corrupting Fever, I don't need to cast again. Pushing monsters away, they don't have much chance to hit me. It doesn't seem like I need Explode. Alright, I guess we're doing a Legion. Get a little Legion in action in here. Not too bad. I do wish the movement speed was a little bit faster on the build. Could be a little faster. Not worried at all about dying, though. I mean, that's one of the advantages of doing a build like this on T16. Is that, like, what is possibly going to kill me out here on a T16 white map? There's nothing. Nothing's going to kill me. Way tankier than I would be on the others, except for, you know, I do actually have to get hit because it's armor-based, not evasion-based. Makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I'm actually personally not a huge fan of armor-based classes. I don't like getting hit. I like avoiding the hits, preferably. Alright, give myself adrenaline again. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. I can move around, you just need the rain of arrows going down, the punishment kicks in, he's gonna die real fast. He'll come back out. Yep, that was real fast. Oh, I thought I picked that shrine up. Whoops. Alright, well, you know, that's just an initial thing. Show the easy mode setup. Let's now give you the real deal. Here we go. T17 map. We're going to do Delirium. It's not actually permanent Delirium now. I want to see if I can actually kill the boss. So Delirium will dissipate after a while. We're going to spend a little bit of time in this map. And it's not going to be easy. Probably. No, maybe. One button press. Adrenaline's up. Got Corrupting Fever rolling. It's not going to have any problem staying. Oh yeah, I'm not going to proc Berserk. Or wait a minute. No, never mind. That was a different map. Okay, I do get Berserk because I do get stuns. That's helping me survive a lot. Oh yeah, Vaal Reap. Going to need that. I'm going to take those shrines. They're really helpful here. Damage is alright. It's not the huge amount of damage. As we get into thicker Delirium, it can seem a little bit less, but definitely doing okay. I know a lot of people love those Explode. What are they? Explode gloves? I don't know. I don't think they're really that necessary. I feel like Exsanguinate, especially with the power hit of Exsanguinate, I don't even really need to prioritize Corrupting Fever too much. In fact, almost to a point where I wonder if I should drop the Corrupting Fever entirely. But, you know, it's kind of nice. It has some purpose here. So, Deep Delirium. Ooh, getting stuck here. Not good. I need to get out of here. Getting slowed down too much. It is precarious when I get slowed down a lot on this character. But here we go. Alright, so you see Adrenaline's running. We got Corrupting Fever going out. Reap like crazy. You just see on the bottom right-hand side how often Reap procking, how often Punishment is procking. So that is the 3 different curses that are in the cast on crit setup. That would normally only have 2, but don't even need life tap. Because I got the mana situation figured out. Every other Rain of Arrows cast procs the other Mana Forge setup. Got a free gem slot for doing that. Something really rare. Never been able to do that before. And I finally died. So we gotta go back in and try to get back to where I was. Oh, that's not cool. Alright, we're just gonna turn the deli off here. I want to see how this does in the boss. I want to see how it does in the boss. So you'll have to forgive me. Make our way up here. I do want the Nico stuff, though. I don't want to forego Nico. His bonus power. Give me that packed with energy, man. Packing energy. Alright, is that number 3? God, how is that not number 3? That's crazy. I've scouted so much of this. Alright, I guess I only have 2 of them. That's okay. Oh, here we go. Number 3 is before the boss room. Alright, full power. 3 packs of energy. Alright, here we go. You know, no headhunter buffs, nothing like that. Here's where we're really testing Vaal Pact. Can I do it? Well, alright, that felt like a one-shot. I don't know if it was or not. That was a pretty hard hit. Okay, got adrenaline up, back in. Be killing Doidre here first. We got punishment rolling, so she's gonna die. Oh my god, he dies so fast once I get below the half-life. Jeez. I still die fast, though. It's tier 17, man. It doesn't matter how tanky you get. Trying to just, you know, like, fight it out on these maps is rough. Definitely rough. I don't need the flasks to be up full time, though. That's not super important. Malagaro's about to die. Got one more. Adrenaline back up again. I think this fight's hard because I have low chaos res. Not exactly sure. Malagaro's might be chaos damage. That feels like it. That does a lot of damage. Oh, wow. Nowhere to stand. Almost. All right. I made it. Made it to the big leagues. Wait, I should take that. Give me that. Give me that. Shine. Very debuffed right now. Can't do that much damage. But also, like, this boss, I mean, I might die from him, but he doesn't do that much damage. Moves so slow. Damage is so low. Ugh. Got some spell suppress. Spell suppress. We're going to do it. We're going all the way. Oh, man. Actually killing a boss with a build. League start. Tier 17 boss killer. Oh my god. He's in punishment territory. He's gonna die for sure. I'm not dead. You're dead. Come on. Now, would you expect a Corrupting Fever build to do that? Come on. Serious question. You guys want to see it one more time? A boss? Here we go. We got Eater of Worlds, which is definitely a lot easier than what I just did. So that may not really be my style, like being more tanky than usual, maybe doing a little less damage than usual. I like the high octane, gotta be active on the field, avoid stuff. You know, T17 kind of still have to avoid stuff at League Start, I guess, but definitely seems a lot easier. That was kind of weird. I thought I died. I saw my life flash before my eyes there. We're here? Okay, we got the phase. Now, running Vaal Pact on this boss with the phase is not smart. I should undo Vaal Pact to get some life regen, obviously, but it's okay. Alright. Can we do it before he phases again? Big damage. Big damage. Big damage. He's dead. Alright. Almost died after death effect. There you have it, guys. That's it for the Corrupting Fever. Rain of Arrows cast on crit. Vaal Reap. Exsanguinate champion. Shrine champion. He's a champion of shrines. A lot of fun. That's fun playstyle. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but I'm still getting to do a bow build, still getting to, you know, run around and cast stuff. But yeah, the way the incoming damage feels and takes is not my flavor. But I know it is for a lot of you guys. So this build definitely feels a little different in terms of defenses. I wonder how you guys feel about this build. Let me know what you think in the comments if this is something you might be interested in seeing a full-blown build guide on. I know this kind of is like a guide, but it is technically just a teaser showcase before we get the patch notes in to see what survives. I hear Determination's nerfed, so I don't know, maybe it's dead in the water, but probably not. That's it for me, guys. Stay tuned for the next video. I might have some last epoch stuff coming up, but I am currently taking a second look at the Elemental Hit of Spectrum Freeze on progressing that further, and holy mackerel, that thing packs a punch. It's really crazy. That build as I put more investment into it. So definitely be talking about that in the future. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.